So now that you have a good understanding of package management and the APT tools, let me tell you what changed in 2018. Pretty much nothing. The only thing that really changed is that a tool that was there in 2016 started gaining more popularity. We talked in this section about the APT get tool and the APT cache tool and the different uses for them. In 2016, Ubuntu decided to combine these tools together in one tool called APT. So we no longer have the APT get, the APT cache. Both are combined in one tool. And then other Linux distributions decided to follow suit. Since 2016, the APT tool started to gain more popularity. And the reason I'm telling you about this now is because if you're researching anything and you see somebody talking about the APT tool and explaining how to use it or install software or remove software using it, I don't want you to get confused and think, what is that? I don't know what this is. I'm used to APT get. Both tools, the APT and the APT get, are still in Kali, in Debian, and in Ubuntu and other Linux distributions that use them. They both work absolutely fine and they work pretty much exactly the same. The only difference is that the APT tool looks a lot prettier. It's got progress bars, it's got colors, it's got a lot of fancy stuff. Let me show you how it looks like. We looked at the APT cache search when we were looking for the graphical FTP. The APT works exactly the same, but instead of typing APT cache, all I have to do is type APT. So I'm going to remove the cache and do the search. And you'll see here that the result looks a little bit different. It's the exact same result, just fancier with more colors. We've also seen how to install FileZilla using the APT get. When it comes to APT, it's exactly the same. All I have to do is just remove the get. So you see now that I don't have to use APT cache and then move the APT get. Both commands work from the APT command. So now all I have to do is type APT, install FileZilla, and you'll see here the different colors, the progress bars, and it just looks a little bit tidier and fancier. We also saw the APT get purge when I want to remove the FileZilla and remove any configuration files it might have associated with it. As you might have guessed, if I want to use the APT, it's just a matter of removing the get word, and it's exactly the same thing. Now you'll notice here that a little bit over 6 megabytes have been removed. However, when we installed FileZilla, it was closer to 18 megabytes. So there's about 11.5 megabytes that are still there on the system somewhere. And for me to remove those, I can use the APT auto remove. And this will go and look at the system and find any packages or dependencies that have not been used or are without use and will remove them for me. And as you can see here, it found 11.5 megabytes, which is the remaining megabytes. And here we go. We're removing these now. So as you can see, nothing really major has changed. It's almost exactly the same commands that you used to use in APT get and APT cache, but now you're using them in APT. And I wanted you to know that. Here's a quick summary of what the different commands mean. I'm not going to go all over them because as you can see here, they are exactly the same. So as you've seen, instead of apt get install, I use apt install. Instead of apt get remove, I use apt remove, so on and so forth. The only thing that might be a little bit different is when we wanted to edit source files before, we used to use Nano for it, or any text editor for that matter. Now you can do that straight out of apt, and all you have to do is type apt edit sources. When you do that the first time, apt will ask you, what text editor do you want to use? And if you choose Nano, it will be set as your default text editor, which you can later on change if you want to. But it will be exactly the same thing as you typing Nano and editing the source list. Alright, that's it for this section. Let's move on to the next section.